Hey there, boys and girls, it's Miss Peppers. Welcome back to the art room. Today, your mini lesson is actually going to be this video. I'm going to give you a video demonstration on how to use rubbing plates with oil pastels. So I'm going to provide you with a new technique that you're going to learn today, and you can decide if you want to use it in your artwork and apply it. So let me turn my camera around. So this video is intended for my second, third, and fourth graders, and I want you to notice that the only studio open today is drawing. There are several reasons why architecture is closed, but it's just one of those things that's not always open. What I'm encouraging you to do is take a deeper dive into the drawing studio supplies and materials, and I'm just going to provide you with one example. There's so many things that you can do within this studio, but I'm providing you with one example of oil pastels, and I actually peeled these because we're using rubbing plates underneath. So the rubbing plates you put underneath your paper. Let me grab one. And then you're going to use oil pastels to rub. And then we're going to see what happens when we paint it. Okay, so I'm going to do, let's do maybe bright. So you're just rubbing with the side of your crayon. You can mix, you can blend colors that are similar, you can rotate it. So don't be afraid to get experimental. Sometimes that's super important when we are working as an artist in our studios. Sometimes I say this, that I don't think that we spend enough time exploring and playing with our materials. But the best way to do that is by just experimenting and playing to see what happens when they interact with other things and stuff like that. So what you're going to do is you're coloring up your paper with a textured background, and you can switch textures, feel free to switch colors until you have it all filled up. Here's an example of one filled up. And then the second day that you come in, because remember we have a very short limited time in the art room this year, the first time you come, you're going to fill up your space with oil pastels and use the rubbing plates to add texture to your paper by placing it underneath and rubbing your crayon, not by the point, but you're going to push it on the side. You're pushing it side. Okay, so once you have your space filled up, on day 2 when you come in, we will have the painting studio open as a choice, okay? Or you can continue this project with painting, which is why I'm doing kind of a light opening on it. All right, so we're going to see what happens when we paint on top of this oil pastel with either a liquid watercolor or just a regular Crayola watercolor. I'm going to dip into the black. And for this to work, a couple of things have to happen. You needed to have pushed hard enough, down hard enough with your oil pastel on your paper. And also your watercolor needs to be nice and liquidy. What I mean by that is like extra wet. So and you need to go fast when you brush it. Bloop. Do you see what's happening? And once you've painted that part, don't touch it anymore. Go to a new spot. If you keep painting the same part over and over, you're actually going to accidentally cover it up. You don't want to cover it up. You want to see, ooh, my liquid watercolor that I dipped into, it covered it up. So I'm not going to use this anymore. This is a black, shiny, glitter black liquid watercolor. And that's what I just dipped into right there. And look, it covered it up. So I just learned something right now, not to use liquid watercolor. I used a rag and kind of wiped it off. So we need to use the regular Crayola. And you can use any color, but I'm going to stick with black, I think. But if you go fast over it and then, oh, I accidentally dipped into the other one. Okay. If you go fast over it and then move on to a new spot, it needs to be nice and wet. Fast over it, move to a new spot. Don't keep painting the same part over and over, or it is going to oversaturate it. And what's going to happen is once it's oversaturated, it's going to cover up the oil pastel. Now, you've probably seen this done before. It's called Crayon Resist. The wax in the crayon is actually pushing away the water. It's just a chemical reaction that's happening. And it's letting the crayon or the oil pastel show back up on the paper. So, another example of this is if you've ever dyed Easter eggs or used those crayons that they provide with the Easter eggs. You color with a white crayon and then you dip it into the water dye. And then 20 minutes, 15 minutes later after you're finished, when you pull it out, the crayon is still showing up. Okay, so that's called Crayon Resist, when it lets the crayon show back up on the Easter egg. Okay, I'm gonna add a little blue. I stuck with black on most of this, but I am gonna add a little bit of blue. Oop, the blue's not working as well. It's covering it up. But if you put it on too thick, it is gonna cover it up. So let me rotate my paper. A dark color, a good rule of thumb to use is notice how on a lot of this paper I did use warm colors like red, orange, yellow right here. Now you want to contrast that with a cool color. So I'm going to use blue and I'm going to fill up the rest. And you might need to get a tissue and kind of dab it. And I'm going to let it mix a little bit right there. All right. Now we should have I'm spreading out the watery parts, and if it's too sopping wet, just use a rag or a paper towel and kind of dab it like this, and now you have a really cool background. Let me zoom out a little bit, but notice how the neon is showing back up. That is just one technique you can apply to your artwork as a choice in the drawing studio today. If you do decide to use this technique, we'll be painting them the next time. So I hope you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the demonstration and have fun experimenting with new materials and this new technique. Have a great day.